Hey everyone, Doc T here. Welcome to another episode of the Horseless Advocate podcast. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to this. I'm torn between absolute anger and frustration and hope. Somewhere in between is where I lie, because I think we as horse owners need to understand just how bad veterinary care is getting toward our horses, and it's not in the direction that you think it's heading. I've podcasted several times about the crisis that we're having in equine veterinary medicine, that we're not getting enough veterinarians out there capable of doing the job or covering the area just physically. And also just the lack of horsemanship skills that many of these horse vets bring to the table. Now, before you all get your hackles up and get mad at me, especially if you're a veterinarian, I want you to listen. I'm just coming to you as a person who's been with horses so long that it's just longer than you know, maybe longer than some of your parents have been alive. And so you can label me as an old fart if you want to. That's fine. I get it. I understand it. But let's look at the real picture that's going on here. I just came back from a farm that is 1 hour and 47 minutes, according to the GPS, away from my home. And I went out there because she cannot get a veterinarian from anywhere around her to come out. She lives in a Bermuda Triangle, if you will. She is south of a town called Okeechobee. She is due east of a town called Fort Myers, Florida. And she's due west of another town called Palm Beach, Florida, where Wellington is. There are so many vets in two of these three cities, and there are definitely veterinary practices in all three cities. And not one of them is willing to come out and take care of her horse, because it's a single horse in a backyard that is on its last legs. It has a body condition score of about 2. I saw the horse a year ago. I gave them advice as to how to feed the horse. I looked at the teeth, and here I am back 11 months later to help them out again, because the horse is actually not gaining weight and is having trouble swallowing. And this horse really needs the attention beyond of my assurance that the teeth are not the problem, and to have an endoscopic exam of the larynx to determine why the horse is starting to choke and throw its food back up, not out just its mouth, but out its nostrils too. Not like a true choke that's stuck in the esophagus, but more like a horse that's swallowing and says, I can't swallow, there's something bothering me. Let's just cough it out. It comes out the nose and the mouth at the same time. And the horse is unknown age. It's been to many homes. It's not had the most beautiful life. And with a body condition score of about 2, we know that it can lose some more fat and still be alive. And is it having a quality of life? Yes. It's getting up and down just fine. It seems to have all the check boxes marked for enjoying life. It can eat. It'll eat. It'll drink. Has a mind of its own. Is a loving part of this family to a degree, based on its past history. Stood beautifully for me in a field to do the oral exam. Didn't put up much of a fight, put up enough of a fight to know that he's alive, but not in much as fight to say that he hates what I was doing. Just, it pains me to think that there are people out there in the rural areas that just can't get a veterinarian to attend. And this started me to thinking about what is wrong. What is the root problem that we're looking at? And it really boils down to one simple thing. And I try to explain to the girl's daughter, who wants to be a veterinarian, by the way. I said, you must remember that the identity of the veterinarian is often confused. For instance, if a veterinarian is at a social gathering and somebody turns to them, they don't know, but in the basic chit chat of a conversation, somebody says, "Oh, what do you do?" And the words come out simply, 3 words: I am a veterinarian. 4 words, sorry. I am a veterinarian. And that is our identity. We have, letters after our name. I have DVM. There's VMD here in America, those two. We have MRCVS in the United Kingdom, and we have BSCV or something, BCSV, whatever. But, in Canada and every country has different delineations, but they all basically say the same thing. This person has taken the time to investigate and to educate and to hold themselves to a higher standard than most people. And therefore, they've been granted a degree of veterinary medicine doctor. And no different than, I'd say, a medical doctor or a certified car technician, certified heating and air conditioning person, you name the profession, an architect, a lawyer, all of these people have attained a certain degree that holds them to a higher standard, saying that we've educated ourselves and we understand the product or the problem in front of us. And I want to argue that that's not the identity. The identity of every professional out there, veterinarians or whatever, is not the fixer of problems. And that is at the root cause of the issue we're having, not just in veterinary medicine, but in every profession out there. I've been waiting over a full year to get a new roof put on my house. And the holdup, yes, was supply chain, but now it's just finding the right crew, the crew that can be educated in safety and the installation of a roof. And it's just so hard because people, they don't get it. They're not finding the identity of their field, their chosen field. And equine veterinary medicine specifically, seeing that this is the Horses Advocate podcast, I believe that most equine veterinarians, especially the younger set, are bogged down in their identity of they are a veterinarian. And with that, they expect certain things. The prestige, the respect that should be afforded anyone who spent extra time and money to advance their careers to come out. But they forget the one problem. And that is they have a false identity. And that false identity came through with this mother-daughter that I was seeing with their ancient horse that's really needing some help. And that is every professional, and I'll just say every equine veterinarian, is there to serve the person through their horse. All professionals are there to serve the person who has asked for help, who is willing to pay for that help, and actually needs that help most of the time through their animal or their car or their family trust or their house that they want to build or whatever it is, their car that isn't working. They want the professional to help them. And it's all about service. We are in a service profession. We are not in selling widgets. We are there to service the person through their horse. And what gets me is there are people who are saying, I'm not willing to go the distance. And maybe I'm just old-fashioned. But today I drove literally 8 hours. Well, no. Yeah, I left at 8 a.m., 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, and I got home at 4. So 8 hours I spent. I visited 2 farms, and I worked on 2 horses, 1 at each farm. That's it. That's my total income today for working on 2 horses and working for 8 hours. And, where am I getting the money for the cost of my time that I could have spent staying home, doing whatever I wanted to do, doing podcasts, getting materials together to get out there? And I find that the biggest problem in veterinary medicine today is that the schools are not teaching the idea that we are a service professional here to help people with their problems that they're having with their horses. Now, whether it's a cut or if it's behavior or a lameness, we are there to help them. And unfortunately, to do that, every veterinarian needs to get paid. Every professional needs to get paid, and they are paid commensurate with how good they are. And the longer you're in the business and the more service you offer and the more people you help through their horses, the more they're willing to tell other people and to promote you through word of mouth. That is the highest form of compliment anybody can get anywhere. Go see so-and-so, they did whatever, positive. And somebody might say, well, how much did it cost? And oftentimes, yeah, it was a little pricey, but boy, I got really good response and my horse is fixed. That's the type of stuff that we gravitate towards. Some of us will gravitate toward what's the cheapest vet out there to do whatever. And I get that. I mean, we all have to watch our dollars. I get it. But, and some people say, well, I can't stand Dr. So-and-so. I'd rather get a different veterinarian than that person. I see that all the time in my hometown here. There are veterinarians that farms say, I won't let them on my property. And it's horrific. And the reason for it is those veterinarians have not serviced the people through their horse. They've serviced the horse to help their own agenda, and they could care less about the person. The only thing they want from the person is their money, and don't bother me on weekends, etc. So, and a lot of these new vets coming out, they want the same thing. They want to be left alone on weekends. They don't want to do the night duties. They don't want to travel so far to do such little work. They don't want the bugs, the heat, the cold, the lightning, the rain, the snow, whatever. They don't want any of that. They want to stand inside a comfy room and have horses come through their exam room. And when they're done, they throw them out the backside and say, next, like our small animal companions, who get paid on average, $30,000 more than most horse vets out there, starting off salary. And it just fuels a crisis because everyone is focused on them and not on the person they're trying to serve. And it just struck me. The other horse that I saw today was a new client. She, first thing out of her mouth was, I want you to do something with the front teeth. And that kind of shocked me because most people who hire me know that I look at the back teeth as being the biggest problem, not the front teeth. And I spent probably 15 minutes going over 4 or 5 different angles of thought that I've formulated over 40 years of doing this that described what my theories and philosophies are in working on the incisors, or the front teeth, the teeth that are just behind the lips. And she went from shock that I wasn't going to do anything to complete understanding with a broad smile on her face as she realized I had no idea my horse was in pain. She said, literally, she said, my horse was balking, was even bucking, rearing when she's riding it, didn't want to be ridden, doesn't mind being groomed, doesn't mind being trailered. She didn't really have any signs of colonic ulcers or a GI upset, although I did start to talk to them about no grain. But she didn't realize that when she sat on the horse and put pressure on the reins, the horse was in pain. And with that little introduction, there is an article here that I found fascinating, and it's in the Equine, where is it? Yeah, here it is. I've got all these magazines and stuff because I get so much information from them that I want to send out to you. This is the September 2023 edition of the Equine Veterinary Education, put out by the AAEP and also the BEVA, which is the British Equine Veterinary Association. And this article was from the Department of Veterinary Clinical Sciences, Faculty of Health and Medical Sciences, University of Copenhagen in Tastrup, Denmark. And this is great. Listen to the title. Application of a ridden horse pain ethogram in Icelandic horses, a pilot study. And I'll try and read some of the summary here, because this goes back to what this person was doing with her horse this morning. A disturbing number of ridden horses are lame, although assumed by riders to be pain-free. A ridden horse pain ethogram, RHPE, was developed, and a score of greater than 8 out of 24 is likely to indicate the presence of musculoskeletal pain. Pain assessment in Icelandic horses is challenging, and the RHPE may facilitate lameness recognition. So they basically videoed 30 Icelandic horses performing a standardized test, and they asked these people who are trained in this ethogram to score these horses for lameness. And the conclusion was there was good repeatability of application of the RHPE. Musculoskeletal pain was associated with RHPE scores of greater than 8 in the majority of the horses. Anyway, data acquired from non-lame horses ridden in well-fitting tack by riders of appropriate size are needed to determine if the threshold of step frequency in trot needs to be adjusted for more accurate application. So this is fascinating, because they had 24 things. I'm going to read through them fast. Why am I going to do this? I don't know. Just listen. These are the ethogram questions that are asked to basically they're yes or no to see if your horse is in pain. I may stop halfway through and just give up as I start to ask more questions. But where do you go? There you are. 1, repeated changes in head position, up or down, not rhythm with a trot. Head tilted or tilting repeatedly. Now, they're talking about lameness, and I'm thinking, gosh, if the head is tilted or tilting repeatedly, it could be sharp teeth. But nowhere in this whole article or trial does anybody go in and look at the pain from the teeth. Head in front of vertical, head behind vertical, head position changes regularly, tossed or twisted from side to side, corrected constantly. Ears rotated back behind vertical or flat. Eyelids closed or half closed for 2 to 5 seconds, frequent blinking. Sclera, which is the white part of the eye, exposed. Intense stare, glazed expression, zoned out for greater than 5 seconds. Mouth opening and shutting repeatedly with separation of teeth. Tongue exposed, protruding, or hanging out, and or moving in and out repeatedly. Bit pulled through the mouth on one side repeatedly. And I'm up to number 12. I'm halfway through, and almost all 12 of these could be just sharp teeth related. And nowhere in this assessment do they even talk about pain inside the horse's mouth. And I'm just flabbergasted. I mean, they're all saying that the horse could be lame, from a tendon injury or something. So here's this woman thinking that her horse is having a behavioral problem, a mental breakdown issue, or something. I don't know. But I got a text just today. Where is it? Let's see now. Here it is. Came in yesterday. I saw her horse on Friday, and today is Tuesday. And she says her horse is no longer messing with the bit with his tongue. Thank you. So, and that's the special horse. That particular horse needs medications because that horse is absolutely so sensitive that he can't be floated without properly removing the oral pain. And even with that, the horse objects, saying, stop, please stop. I'm afraid. And it's interesting because I give 3 medications, 2 for pain and 1 for anxiety. And even with those, the horse is so sensitive, you can't give a lot. The horse is resisting, and it's all oral pain. And this is what I've told people. The lady with the incisors that are wrong, that was the horse is having a fit. I said, the horse is fighting because of the pain and is moving the tongue in a certain direction to avoid pain. And because of that, the tongue, which goes out of the mouth and in the mouth with every bite the horse takes of grass or hay, the tongue will go out and come back in. That rubbing of the tongue against the soft enamel of the incisors will shape the incisors into the asymmetry that we see that so many people think causes the horse to be out of balance. And it cracks me up because the paradigm is that the angle of the incisors is causing the horse to be out of balance. That affects the temporomandibular joints and therefore affects the whole body of the horse. And so the horse is going to be not correct, show lameness, and show all sorts of problems because you haven't balanced them out. That's their paradigm. So I suggested to her to think about this. Two things. One, if the tongue can't move in its normal free flow within the mouth to go left, right, up, down, wherever it wants to go, because it's inhibited by pain caused by the lower cheek teeth points digging into the tongue, so the tongue can't move properly, then the tongue is going to not be symmetrical in movement and will create an asymmetrical wear of the incisors. So what you're seeing in the incisors is secondary to abnormal or asymmetric tongue movement that's brought on secondary to pain that's created by the sharp points of the teeth. And that stopped her in her tracks because no one had ever said that. Does a horse come before the cart or the cart before the horse? It's just simple as that. And it's a paradigm shift. It's a way of looking at problems that when somebody says, well, this is, the teeth are out of alignment and therefore everything is falling apart from there, is now being challenged by me saying, no, the teeth are there because something else is happening someplace else. And what really helped me out was in 2002, I sat at at a luncheon table alone with one other man. His name is veterinarian. His name is Patty Dixon, who is in charge of the Edinburgh Veterinary School and is the world's leading expert on horse teeth. And he and I had a one-on-one talk in 2002 at this table in Glasgow, Scotland, where he asked me about incisor reductions, which is filing down the front teeth. And I said, I think it's unethical. It shouldn't be done. And there's no basis in science for it. And he said, well, are you serious? I mean, why do you think that? And I said, well, I think it's all coming secondary from the sharp teeth. This is 21 years ago. I said this. And his reply with, a kind of a look of shock, he said, that's interesting. He says, we did electron microscopy studies of the enamel of the incisors versus the enamel of the cheek teeth. And we found that the enamel of the incisors was softer and therefore wore more easily than the cheek teeth. I said, that makes sense. And he said, and we think it's secondary to problems in the back. And we are now rapidly moving away from doing incisor reductions here in the United Kingdom for the very same reason I told him, that they think it's a secondary thing. So we've known this since 2001. And what's interesting is 3 months later, the American Association of Equine Practitioners, Dr. Lauder out of Georgia, was asked the question about incisor reductions. And he says, there's no basis in science for it. And we're rapidly moving away from it here in America. And I thought that was interesting that he used the same words, rapidly moving away. So, it's what I've been always saying since the beginning of time. There's no sense in doing the incisors. So I told her all this, and her eyes, this client's eyes were kind of widening, but she also saw that the horse behind me was starting to love on me. And she says, this horse doesn't love on anybody, doesn't show any affection. I said, well, it's a mare with canines, which was another new thing for her. She didn't realize that mares with canines, even if they haven't erupted in this case, same with this horse, are usually independent, what am I thinking of? They're usually independent. They're usually leaders. They usually don't care about anybody else. They're standoffish. They can be stallion-like in many cases, or at least be so confident that they can go off and be on their own and be just as happy, not mingling with a crowd. And they're demanding, dominant, dictatorial. And they broke out laughter. The people watching me, they said, that's her exactly. I said, well, that's a mare with canines. Again, I've just seen so many horses that I have to come across and tell these people that, yeah, you can do this ethogram of pain if you want. That's fine. I don't care. But the ethograms and the scientists and the people studying this have to realize that pain comes from so many different places, not just from hooves and suspensory ligaments, but from teeth, from mental anguish, from colonic imbalance of the bacteria in the colon, just so many things. And you have to really dig down deep and figure out what it all is. And I think the teeth are one of those things that, gosh, if just everybody knew just how painful some of these horses are and take their pain away, it would be great. The other horse I saw today was coughing up hay every time he tried to swallow. It came out of his mouth and its nostrils. I checked the teeth, and I'm expecting to find no teeth, hardly any teeth, something like that. But this horse has every tooth in there, hardly has any sharp edge, just one or two sharp edges. And I dressed the two edges. It took me 2 minutes to file the teeth that I wanted to. And I said, I'm not filing anymore. They're all solid in the mouth. There's no malodor. Nothing's a problem. If anything, it's further back. Maybe the horse swallowed something. It's just healing. It could be healing. I don't know. Over time, it's getting better, actually. But after I took out that sharp pain, that one sharp spot in the lower last right cheek tooth, the horse went back to eating, and it obviously improved. It in fact stopped choking the whole time I was sitting there talking to him about nutrition. So pain is everything. Ethograms, be damned. Come on, people. I've done it again, haven't I? Stop hollering at me. I can't hear you, but I do. I know that I've gone off in one direction, then down another. But we're talking about horse vets serving people. And I find that in their science and in every aspect, horse vets are serving horses, and just the people are not important. And I say that with all due respect for a lot of things. I think in the American Association, what is it? AVMA, American Veterinary Medical Association, there's an article I saw that was pretty interesting. Gosh. Let's see. There's so many things I want to go over. I don't have enough time. I guess is the House of Delegates request spectrum of care resources. And they're just talking about how important it is that veterinarians offer a spectrum of care. So the descriptor, spectrum of care, I'm quoting now from the AVMA News. I forgot what issue. I think September 2023 issue. It says spectrum of care, definitions vary, but essentially it means empowering veterinarians and clients to consider a wide range of treatment options. At one end is basic, less resource dependent, lower cost, and usually less invasive and lower tech care. The other end is advanced, more resource dependent, higher cost, and often more invasive and higher tech care. I'm sitting here, here's a lady who gets zero care. She can't even call a vet. I mean, come on, people. I mean, how can this happen? And then they say the AVMA pledges to defend against expanding scope of practice. I thought that was really interesting. I've read this in several spots, but they don't want to have mid-level veterinarians. In other words, like, what do you call those doctors? Physician's assistants, where they have kind of half the legal rights of a physician, but they don't have all. But they can make decisions on their own. And the veterinary medicine is saying, no, I don't think you should do that. And they're also saying that non-veterinarians, the scope of practice has to be managed and monitored. And you guys who know anything about dentistry know that depends on what state you're in. But on one state, non-veterinarian can float with hand floats and do just fine. Another, they're not supposed to use hand floats. They use they're not supposed to use power floats, but they do, but nobody's enforcing the law. And then there's other states where you're not allowed to float teeth unless you are a veterinarian, and they will arrest you if you do. And it all depends on whether they've gotten a veterinarian angry or not. They go after it. But it's so funny because farriers have been enjoying the freedom of diagnosing and treating by applying therapeutic shoes and wedges to make a horse sound with reckless abandon. I might add. Not every farrier. Don't get mad at me. Stop throwing your hammer at the iPhone that you're listening to this on. Just understand that not every veterinarian, not every farrier knows all the things about hooves, and we should work as a team, as so many people have tried to do. The AVMA, the New England Equine Veterinary group, they're trying to get the farriers and vet to be one and the same, and raise the farrier up to the veterinary standard as far as the hoof goes, and try to give them credibility. But in the eyes of the law, they are breaking the law left and right every day. And so are veterinarians, non-veterinarians, applying all sorts of other therapies, diagnosing through chiropractic care or body works. It isn't clear cut. And the veterinarians the veterinary profession is scrambling to make it harder and harder for you, the horse owner, to get the care you need for your horse in the middle of nowhere. That's what they're basically doing. And because so many veterinarians who graduate are not going into the equine field, and of those, half of them are quitting within 5 years because the work is hard, the satisfaction is low, and the pay is low, and they're getting out of it. And you guys, I can't tell you enough how much of a crisis you guys are in, your horse owners. So let me see if I can find some other things. I don't want to get into that. Antibiotic resistance, future vets helping future pets. Maybe this is kind of interesting. Let's see. I didn't underline this, so it's going to be hard to talk about that. Interesting stories and things. Oh yeah, those are all cool. I'll get to that another day. But here's 3 schools: Kansas State, Colorado, and Ohio veterinary schools. Kansas State has a gooseneck that goes out to do mobile shelter medicine, which I find interesting. So these fourth-year vet students are going out and doing, thousands of surgeries, spays and neuters, et cetera, to help the underserved areas to get free vet care. And in the meantime, the students are getting their training on these dogs and cats, which I think is interesting. I found another article that said there's now a gene therapy where they can inject a cat with a drug that blocks a enzyme that prevents a cat from reproducing. So it's basically an injection. Your cat can't have any kittens anymore. And that's going to be the future of animal control in cats. So now we don't even have to do the spay or the castrations. Ohio State, a new dimension of learning, implementing an outcomes-based veterinary curriculum with a focus on spectrum of care. There's that spectrum of care again. So they basically, throughout the whole 4 years, they talk about having a positive outcome. So your horse comes in with whatever, a lameness or illness or whatever, and they look at it and they look at all the options that will get them from point A to point B. Point A is where the horse walks in the clinic, and point B is when it goes home, hopefully sound, alive, and no longer sick. And they talk about the spectrum of care principles incorporated throughout new curriculum. So, they're trying to give the horse owners options. Why are they doing this? Well, the problem with spectrum of care is it's not just being transparent with your thought process, but you also have to say, what's the outcome? If I do nothing, what's the outcome? If I do plan A, what's the outcome? If I do plan B, what's the outcome? And unfortunately, if doing nothing gives you a 100% positive outcome, no one's going to make any money. So I doubt if they say do nothing is part of the spectrum of care. I mean, they might, I don't know, but I just did that to a gal who called today from someplace else. She said, look, I've got a 2-year-old turning 3 next year who's got according to the radiographs, a fractured cheek tooth. And I said, okay, it's possible. And it's got pus dripping from its jaw, its mandible, but the pus is getting less and less. And it's almost going away. And they took an x-ray and they said the tooth is fractured and it has to come out. And I said, so how's the horse doing? Oh, horse is eating, doesn't care, no pain, no indication there's a problem other than this crusty pustule that's on its jaw. And I said, so doing nothing will basically not do anything negative to this horse. And it's getting better over time. So doing nothing actually is a valid treatment. And of course, I can't diagnose over the phone. I said she has to make this decision with her veterinarian, but you have to include doing nothing as part of the spectrum of care. And I don't know if going to veterinary school and being taught that doing nothing actually will work, or heaven forbid, changing the diet, making sure that the horse is being fed properly, stop feeding it with, sugars. And, where's that on the spectrum of care? Hey, look, I know you don't have two nickels to rub together. I know you went way out of your way to come here with your horse, and I know you want to cure it. And I can do, $1,000 or $5,000 worth of all this technology. But what would happen if you don't do anything and change a horse's diet? What would happen? Are you willing to go home and do that, try that, and then come back in 3 months if you still need to? Is that part of the spectrum of care? I don't know. I don't know what vet schools are teaching people, but I don't know if that's on the spectrum of care. In Colorado State's innovation, teamwork, and global awareness characterize Colorado State University DVM training. And find, improved training of skills and clinical reasoning critical to day one competency. They want more hands-on experiences with surgical patients through a partnership with some animal league. Again, training, emphasizing teamwork, communication has been shown to improve training, clinical competence, and confidence. But it's all about trying to connect with a result. And what good is that going to be unless these veterinary colleges start to say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to teach the passion. We're going to bring people in with stories about how you helped horses and how you got frozen to the bone, or how you traveled an hour and a half to get there, but it was worth it because the horse was happy, but more importantly, the person was happy, and how we helped serve people through their horses. Nobody's talking about that. It's all about the people. So I've got so much to talk about. I've talked about the quality of life. I saw some practice was asking, had a help wanted ad for equine practice, and they had a $10,000 sign-on bonus. So now they have to dangle $10,000 cash to get someone to come to a veterinary practice to do vet work on horses. I thought that when you went to vet school, you didn't want to do anything but be a veterinarian. And if you want to be with horses, you knew it. You couldn't wait to get out. You couldn't wait to work on your first horse. Even before you got your license, you're ready to go. I mean, that was my story. I was doing vet work while the vet license was coming. And I told people, it's coming. Don't worry, it'll be here. And it was. But in the meantime, I was ready to get to work. I went past my graduating classes. If you've read my book, and on the graduation day, I was going to my first call in my vet truck. I couldn't wait to go. Nothing could hold me back. And where is that passion in the young veterinarians that are quitting? Why are you quitting? Why put all the effort in, and within 5 years you've quit and gone to the small animal side? Why did you even waste our time? That's the question I have for you. Now, I became a mentor to veterinarians through the Mentor Vet program. I got one person, and that person, we talked once, and she never called me back again. Oh, maybe I blew him out. I'm sorry. But if you're too frail to get some sort of opposing view of what you think is right, then maybe you shouldn't become a vet. I don't know. It's a cold, cruel world out there, and you have to stand up for what you believe in. You have to stand up to your identity. If you are going to say that I am a veterinarian, that encompasses more than, hey, I went to school and got my DVM degree. It is a commitment. It is a passion. It is a passion for helping people through their animals. And it could be their turtle, their bird, their snake. I don't care. It's if you're in there, the fish, the aqua vets that are going out there helping fish in fish tanks, you're not there to help the fish, the reptile, the cuddly little animal curled up in your lap, or the cattle that roaming the range that are going to become our food or our milk, or the sheep or the swine or the poultry. Yes, I know the animals you're treating there in those particular cases are going to become our future food, but that is no different than the ancient hunters who stalk their prey and kill it, and then have a ceremony of appreciation, of gratefulness, of gratitude for that animal who sacrificed their life so our lives could continue. I know fishermen love to fish, and they always return the fish unless they need it. Hunters who go out and hunt deer, they're only hunting deer that can feed their family or their friends. They don't overhunt. The people who do pull a trigger or send an arrow from their bow to kill an animal are doing so with great reverence. And I believe that all the meat producers and milk producers out there, while it's still a job for them, I know deep in their heart, they have a great reverence for what they are doing and the sacrifices they are sending their animals to. And we as veterinarians have to be part of that and recognize that every piece of meat that comes to our table has been inspected by the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, and a veterinarian has actually laid eyeballs on that food piece and said there is no disease. I am protecting every person who eats a piece of meat here in America from getting some sort of disease that not only affects humans, but can affect other animals. So I can go back and tell the farmer that, hey, you've got a problem and we need to isolate this farm and quarantine it so no other rancher gets hurt. Veterinarians play such an important role in that. And it pains me to think that the USDA, through their, let me read it right, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. You can go to the website here. In fact, I'll do this. Let me share the screen. For those of you who are watching, if you're just listening, bear with me and I'll explain. But here is the USDA. The website is NIFA, which is National Institute of Food and Agriculture. So the NIFA.usda.gov. And just look for the map that designates veterinary shortage situations. And this map has every state of our nation and describes what shortages there are. So I clicked on the Florida map, and in almost every county, there's a shortage of rural area food animal medicine. An Osceola has a public practice that is having problems. And when you look at the individual, let's see, where did it go? Here it is. I went to the shortage region FL 234, which includes Okeechobee, St. Lucie, Osceola, Indian River, Martin, Glades, and Hendry counties. And those are the counties that I live in and work around all the time. They said that they are willing to knock off $75,000 of your vet school education. The government, the federal government will pay for it. In fact, the proposed law in the September 2023 edition is saying that the veterinary medical loan repayment program is now going to be upgraded. So veterinarians who take advantage of getting $75,000 off their tuition are also going to be free of the tax burden of that. So they're going to be actually have a tax-free $75,000, so they don't pay any income tax on that. So now we have an incentive to get veterinarians out there, but what they have to do is must serve the beef cattle, dairy cattle, and small ruminants communities. They may serve swine and poultry, and other may serve as equine. So it's not going to be helping equine vets, because even though there's a shortage of equine vets, and the equine is not considered a food animal, so the USDA isn't going to help us out with that. But the shortages are in every state. It's just crazy. Now, what's really interesting, just to keep going on this, is July of 2023 in the AVMA, there was an article called Straight Talk About Veterinary Workforce Issues, Dispelling Misinformation and Disinformation in the Post-COVID Era. And the president of the AVMA, Dr. Lori Teller, basically said a great deal of misinformation has circulated widely over the past few years. Some of this may be inevitable in the climate of crisis and uncertainty. And then it goes on that estimated workforce needs, future workforce needs, is being misrepresented. They said we have and definitely need to continue to address the current concerns, but we also not make hasty, knee-jerk decisions about long-term workforce needs based primarily on our COVID experiences. Some circulating estimates for workforce needs substantially overestimate demand and underestimate supply. So I'm getting confused here. So these numbers, which are being used to support claims of future shortage of companion animal veterinarians, are based on faulty math. Worse, these erroneous numbers are being used to justify proposed long-term changes to the profession that places profits ahead of animal health and safety. These proposals include introducing an unnecessary mid-level position, inappropriately expanding the scope of practice of non-veterinarians, and dangerously relaxing the veterinary client-patient relationship requirements under the guise of expanding access to care. So here's the president of the American Veterinary Medical Association saying, hey, we may overestimate the demand and underestimate the supply. So then in another article in September 2023, there are now 11 new colleges that are in the works for veterinary medicine, 11 new ones in America, or I should say more than America, but anyway. Ana G. Mendez University has developed the first school of veterinary medicine in Puerto Rico. All right, so Puerto Rico is going to have their own vet school. Arkansas State University has approved their plan for a college of veterinary medicine there. Chamberlain University, which is run by the formerly DeVry Inc., called Adtalem Global Education, is thinking about starting a vet school throughout the United States because they have 23 nursing schools, and the first one's going to be in Stockbridge, Georgia. Clemson is going to offer a veterinary college of veterinary medicine in South Carolina. Lincoln Memorial University, which already has one in Harrogate, Tennessee, which I went to and gave a talk to their students, which is so interesting. If you recall the podcast, I went there to talk. There was over 50 people in the crowd, which blew my mind that they were all interested in dentistry, when it turns out that they were forced to go there. They took attendance. If they didn't get there and check in, then somebody was dinged somewhere. So they had to go. And I said, I release all of you. All of you can go. I only want to talk to people who are interested. And that seemed to get everybody's attention, so they stuck around. But Lincoln Memorial University is going to be opening up a second school. Where? Orange Park, Florida. That's right outside of Jacksonville. So now we'll have one in Gainesville and Jacksonville, which are, what, an hour and a half apart? Crazy. That's kind of like at Cornell, the oldest college in North America in New York State. Now has a second college in Long Island. Crazy. What do we need all these colleges for? But anyway, Lyon College in an institution, Arkansas, based in Batesville, Arkansas, is thinking about putting one up. Oh, pardon me. They are putting one up. They've appointed Eleanor Green, Dr. Eleanor Green, Professor Emerita and Dean Emerita of Veterinary Medicine at Texas A&M, but also from University of Florida. So, I mean, she's been around forever, and she's going to be doing that. Then we have Rowan, the Schreiber School of Veterinary Medicine at Rowan University, and that is in New Jersey. So this guy has donated $30 million to start this one in Harrison Township, New Jersey. Then Utah State University is partnered with Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Utah. So for the first 2 years, Utah students go to University of Utah, and then they go out to Washington State Vet School and finish things off. But they're going to be building their own veterinary school, and they're going to take their students that they're sending over to Washington, and they're going to keep them right there in Idaho. Other potential programs is the Maryland Eastern Shore, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, a historically Black college in Princess Anne, Maryland. And they're going to start their school as part of the Ross Vet Articulation Partner Scholarship, whatever that is. But apparently that's an initiative for Hispanic serving institutions and historically Black colleges and universities. Also, Rocky Vista College is going to open up in Parker, Colorado. Let's see, they have a medical school in Parker, Colorado, Ivins, Utah, and Billings, Montana, and they're going to get a College of Veterinary Medicine going there. And then Murray State is going to develop a veterinary school in Kentucky, I believe, Lexington. The university currently has agreements with Auburn University College of Veterinary Medicine and Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine, and they're going to just stay right there in Kentucky. So that's what's going on there. Then in the U.S., veterinary college increased seats at accelerating rate. This came in September 26th of 2023, and what it basically says is back in 2012, basically a decade ago, the number of first-year veterinary students was less than 3,000. It's like 2,938. And a decade later, they just squeezed over 4,000 students. So it went from basically 3,000 to 4,000, or about 25%. It said a total of 37.7% increase, but I don't know. Sounds like, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's growing at an exponential rate. And I told you about LSU, what they're doing, increasing the number of seats, the number of people who are coming in and becoming veterinarians. And every school out there is doing this. University of Georgia saw the largest bump from the 2018-19 to the 2022-23 years, going from 114 first-year students to 150. Florida College of Veterinary Medicine increased from 119 to 150. And of course, LSU, like I said, is increasing its seats to 200 for the class of 2028. That's crazy. And then, of course, Lincoln Memorial, that's in Tennessee, added a second group of students of 100, and they're planning on adding 100 new students each year just to that program, let alone the new one that's starting down in Florida. I'm just blown away by this, because what we're doing is, there's a picture of the group at Long Island University, LIU. I go right past there every day. Every time I go to Long Island to work, it's kind of funny. Anyway, the bottom line is, let me get out of sharing this screen. The bottom line is, we are going to have more and more veterinarians tripping over each other, offering this standard of care, or this quality of care, or spectrum of care. And it's all about fixing the animal. And that's fine. We want the animal fixed, but to do so at the peril of those who can't get the veterinary care, or who are limited to just maybe one veterinarian who's come, or no veterinarians who are come to their farm, it's just crazy. The vet schools are gearing toward the companion animals, meaning the small animals, those that can get in a car and be driven to the veterinary clinic. And it's a dichotomy, meaning it is a completely separate. It doesn't even fall in the same ballpark. It's a different sport. We horse vets and you horse owners need to understand and come to agreement that, yes, you're going to have to pay more money to get the veterinarian out there to help you with a horse. But you also have to remember that these people are there to fix your horse and not really communicate with you. Yes, they'll communicate with you. They'll build a friendship, a relationship. But there's a broad spectrum of care that they're being taught is plan A through D, let's say, and there's more. There's more to the understanding. I mean, I had another person today say, actually, it's the same person. She said she spent, I think it was $10,000 on her horse to get it fixed, and it never got fixed. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because some of them can't be fixed, which brings the onus back down on you, the horse owner. As I said many times, get your horse's house in order. Start feeding it right. Feed the hoof so the hoof doesn't have a problem anymore. Feed the horse enough high quality protein that it doesn't break down, that it doesn't become ill. Stop feeding these foods that have 10, 20, 30 ingredients on the ingredients label that you don't know where they came from or why they're even on the label. Start feeding whole things that you can understand. I mean, I don't think that you should feed an apple, but when you do, you're feeding an apple. You're not feeding, 17 other ingredients mixed in with the apple. What is going on here, folks? If we want health, we have to stop feeding all this processed food and start looking at how the horse was intended to come along and be there. So you horse owners have to understand that you have to get the horse's house in order, and we have plenty of podcasts for you to learn from. But if you're a veterinarian listening to this, or you're owner, and you hand this off to the veterinarian and say, hey, listen to this guy, I'm pleading with you. Start to get the passion, get the fire lit under you. Understand what your identity is. It's not that you're a veterinarian, but you are a professional serving people through their animal and the care that you learned as a veterinarian, or whatever, as a farrier, or as a care of oral care, dental work, or body work. Know that you're there to help the person, not the horse. And if you could just take a moment and meditate on that and understand what I'm trying to say, you'll finally figure out that this is fun, that you're making progress in helping people. And that's what a business is all about. I said it, those books for dummies that they have out there. They wrote a book called Marketing for Dummies. And they believe it or not, this is in the late 90s. They reached out to me because I was one of the first few professionals out there on the internet, using the internet to educate people. And the editors found this and they said, would you like to contribute something for that book? And I still have that book, so I can find it's 2 full pages in the book. It was Internet Marketing for Dummies. And in it, I said, people will do business with people they like. And that so many gurus have used that line, but we have to build relationships with people, because that's what we're in it for. And I can't tell you how many vet students have come to me and say, I can't stand people. I said, well, get out of this profession. Stop wasting your time. It's a people business. And luckily, we aren't trying to do anything else but work with their horses. And we're given the privilege, the honor of working with somebody else's horse and helping that horse thrive in a human world. And by the way, Purina, if you're listening to this, I appreciate you stealing my line. I really do. There's nothing more complimentary than to steal somebody else's work. And no, I'll never sue you. You've got more lawyers than you can count and lots of millions of dollars. So I just want to bring out Purina. When it says science plus love, period, helping horses thrive, that's just plagiarism. That's taking helping horses thrive in a human world and just saying helping horses thrive. It is a human world, and you're part of the human world. You're the corporation that's trying to make money, and I don't think you really care as much about horses as you say you do. I'll challenge you any day of the week. We have to, as veterinarians, learn that we're here to be part of the team. We're asked to come on board by a human. We're paid by a human. I've never seen a horse write me a check, ever. And once we understand that we're helping people, and that what we do today is going to have lasting effects for years in the health of that horse and the health of other horses that these people tell, that's what we're here for. We're not here to make a dollar payment. Yes, we have to make money. Yes, we have our bills to pay, our children to send to school. Yes, we deserve all the money that we put into our college education. We need that and then some. There's no doubt about it. And I think people are willing to pay for somebody who actually cares. But if you don't care, get out of the profession. Go ahead and quit. That's fine. We really don't want you. We only want the veterinarians who want to be here. And if that truly goes from 1.4% down to 0.7% after 5 years, and if they flood the market with more and more veterinarians, and we actually, the 1.4% actually grows in numbers because we frankly have more numbers, that's fine. But if half of them still quit, oh well, get out of here. We only want the 0.7% and then pour everything you got into it. This profession is a phenomenal profession. I've been able to help people, and they in turn have helped other people. It is so heartwarming. And I hope you can become part of that. But I'm sorry for this rant. It's just frustrating that veterinarians aren't willing to go the distance. I mean, next week I've got 20 horses in one barn. Okay? That's like too many horses to do in one day, but I don't have to go anywhere except to this one barn. Today, I traveled 8 hours to do 2 horses at 2 farms. It's a balance. Think of it more in the terms of what do you do in 365 days, not what you're doing now and how inconvenient it is. Veterinary medicine is inconvenient. The horses do give you a tough time. The flies are bad. The heat forces the sweat off of you. I get it. But we also have showers at night. We have fly spray we can put on. And we have horsemanship skills that we can hone and improve upon so we can start working with these horses. And we can start to become successful within the means of what the people can pay and what they want. And they're willing to pay if you know that if they know that you're going to give 100% to them through their horse. And that's all I wanted to say. Maybe next week it'll be more to the point of something like, what the heck is a vitamin? I think that's been bugging me because I get so many people about, what do you think about vitamin E? And I'm like, I don't think much about it because horses don't eat fish, so where are they getting their vitamin E from? And their omega-3s and omega-6s. And I think I'm going to try and tackle that on the next podcast or two. Depends on what happens between now and then. But thank you for joining me. I hopefully you appreciate my passion for this. And I'm so grateful you're here. So I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Bye. Hey everyone, Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that. There's 2 reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.